So, welcome. Do you know the story about where, well, we obviously do it with not a lot of people, and you have one producer arranging everything at the last moment? And we're here on this world to learn, and I learned a break glass option available just in case when your laptop gets a blue screen, which actually happened like 2 minutes before this event would start. Well, in the schedule, we set warm, soothing welcome words. Well, I'm warm now. Maybe we can add in Nick to the conversation, and maybe he has some soothing words as well. Welcome to CONTRIBUTING.md, the Hacktoberfest online meetup. Will be kicking off today, but we won't stop there. We will do it the entire month with a follow-up meetup Tuesday. You can check the schedule below, but I'm sure you've had plenty of time while waiting for us to go live. My name is Susanne Daniels. I work at Microsoft as developer engagement lead, and well, next to me you will see Nick. He basically does the same thing, but then for Belgium, and I do that for the Netherlands.
Yes, hi Suzanne, and thanks a lot for getting this up and running. And yeah, I can agree. The warm feelings are with me as well. So thanks a lot for joining our Hacktoberfest virtual meetup. So when we look at Hacktoberfest, what exactly is it? It's basically a celebration of open source and the community coming together to support each other. Now, when we say celebrating open source, it really is celebrating all of these amazing projects that you use basically day to day. On a daily basis, we do these Git clones where we pull down the source code from someone else. We do npm installs. We grab those Ruby gems, just like it's nothing. But there's people behind all of these projects. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears behind this virtual meetup, but also behind these amazing projects. And so what we want to do is really celebrate also the people. And how could we celebrate the people better than actually helping them, making their life easier? Because building those projects is really about putting a lot of time and effort in there, and very often it is after hour work. And usually it's very small teams that are sitting behind these projects. So let's kickstart this Hacktoberfest by helping them in a meaningful way. Because what's the greatest gift for Hacktoberfest? It's not that t-shirt. Definitely not. Don't do it for the t-shirt. Do it because you want to contribute to the community and that you want to help basically the maintainers of those projects. And that's what we stand for with this event here, is really making sure that we build a community, that we create a new batch of contributors that will be creating even more exciting and amazing projects. So I think with that, Suzanne, I'll hand it over to you. Is there something else in there apart from all the gratitude from the community in joining this event? Is there something the people can get out of here, out of our event? I think we have something nice in store. Suzanne, can you hear me?
Yes, we do actually, and you know, you are spot on, Nick, by mentioning, like, you know, it's not about t-shirt, it's about making a sane contribution to open source in any way you can. You know, be it coding, be it updating documentation, or creating a website, or if you're better at it at this than I am, creating a live stream. but it basically comes down to those good intentions. And of course, it's never ever a good contribution to just switch some words or changing some comments. Though obviously sometimes a comment is of course a good thing to change. But then again, yeah, this is what it's about. It's about making a meaningful contribution. Now, today you can win swag. We have put together something fun, we think, and well, we'll show you after the next talk, because we're souping up all time for Sasha. So you can get this. How can you get this? Well, throughout this event, you will see a letter coming by, and those letters will form a word. And as soon as you have discovered a word, you can submit it, and you can win a swag package. It's as simple as that.
Yes.
So that's about it. And well, I think we should switch soon to Sasha. I'm really sure that people are not joining, just us talking. So
yeah.
let's invite Sasha.
Yes,
hey,
enough
Sasha.
soothing words.
Hello.
Hi, Sasha.
I hope you all can hear me okay.
Yes, we can.
Good.
Let me quickly introduce you, Sasha. Thanks a lot for joining. And so Sasha Rosenbaum is a product manager at GitHub, also an author. So you've written a book, which you're very proud of, and it's always an amazing achievement.
Read it, but yeah, you can totally buy it and put it in your library, and that would be cool.
The cool thing I read that you put up on your website was, you can buy my book, but you shouldn't read it. I'm not sure if that's true, because there's a lot of nice.
So I will tell you exactly why. The reason is that Azure Functions had moved so rapidly that the technology is, like, the book is really outdated. It's only been 3 years, I think, and it's just completely out of date. But you can still buy it and have it in your library and look at it. It kind of looks nice. I don't know.
Definitely. Well, thanks a lot for joining us, Sasha, and I'm handing the floor to you. Thanks a lot.
All right. So one question before you go is, I know I had 30 minutes and I know we had technical difficulties. So would you rather I went faster? I don't know if I can still hear you. I guess not. All right. Well, it will go as fast as it will go. Let me just get started. Hopefully you can see my screen. Nick, can you make sure I'm sharing my screen? All right, that looks better. Okay, so let's get started. This presentation today is how to get started with open source. And so Nick introduced me already, but I am Sasha Rosenbaum. I started my career as a developer. I worked in ops as well a little bit. I was an architect for Microsoft for a number of years, and right now I'm a product manager for GitHub. And you can find me on GitHub and on Twitter as DivineOps. So please feel free, if you have any questions, to submit them on Twitter. So I like to get started with definitions. So let's first talk about what open source really is. So open source software technically is defined as software that has a permissive license that allows users to share, use, study, change, and distribute that software free of charge for any purpose. Right? So technically, all you need for your software to be open source is to have that kind of permissive license. There's a number of these licenses around. One of the popular ones is MAT, another one is GPL. There's a bunch of different ones. If you go to that link, it will actually list licenses for you and show you, like, if I wanted to do this type of contribution, this type of community, which license fits best. So technically, if you just went to GitHub and you just created a new repository right now, as I'm showing, this is a pre-recorded little demo. But basically, all you need to do is create a new repository, make it public, and then basically we allow you to choose which kind of license you want to attach to it. So of course you can choose no license, or you can choose one of the open source licenses. And then if you do that and you create your repository, that will make it open source, right? So technically right now, by creating this, I just contributed to open source. Now, of course, there's more to it than that, right? Because we want to make meaningful contributions, not just create a repository that is empty and has a permissive license. So let's talk also about why you should contribute to open source in the first place. Well, so I'm going to go to one of the popular quotes by Mike Anderson. He says, "Software is eating the world." He said it in 2011, and he was right. I mean, digital companies were replacing non-digital companies at a really fast rate. So like we can talk about Netflix replacing Blockbuster, or Skype bidding actual dial tone phones. Nobody has a telephone line in their home anymore, stuff like that, right? But it wasn't just any software actually that was eating the world. So if we talk about Microsoft specifically, we go a couple decades back, we actually see that Steve Ballmer said Linux is a cancer. Microsoft was pretty vehemently against open source. And now we can see Satya, like this was, I think 2016, standing on stage in front of Microsoft Loves Linux. So what happened here? What happened is that Microsoft recognized what's really happening in the world, and Microsoft wasn't the only place, of course. But if we look at the software composition reports, we see that 99% of organizations actually use open source, and 90% of your software comes from open source. So basically, only like 10% of your code is your new business logic that's unique to you. Everything else is actually coming out of your open source libraries dependencies. And that's a good thing, because you don't have to re-implement data in time, or re-implement multiplication, or re-implement sorting a list, right? That's a great thing for you, right? But also, contributing to open source may provide you with some personal benefits. So one of them is that you can gain professional experience, right? So this is a chart of most popular languages among GitHub repositories by year. I'm not showing it to prove that JavaScript is the best language to learn. I'm showing it to show you that there's a lot of different languages in GitHub projects, a lot of different operating system. You can write firmware, you can write software, you can write any kind of application that you want that is open source, and you can contribute to the community in a meaningful way by doing that. So kind of choose your tech stack and then go contribute to that project. Then you get to build relationships. So for me personally, the most meaningful relationships actually didn't come from open source. They came from DevOps community. I've been involved in that since 2014, and it grew from a niche community into this huge global thing that involves multiple thousands of people, right? And this year we had to do it virtually, which wasn't as good, but I think we still brought value to the community. But basically, you also get to choose your path. In addition to building these relationships, you can kind of choose your own adventure. And so in your regular job, you might be assigned tasks and projects and told what to work on and told which role you belong in and stuff like that. In open source, you can choose, do I want to be a leader? Do I want to be an IC? Do I want to contribute to this project or that project? Right? Kind of work on the stuff that's most interesting to you. So this is lots of rainbows and unicorns, and this is good. There's also some drawbacks to contributing to open source, actually. So one of them is that there's usually no official onboarding. Usually when you join a company, you get onboarding, you get an onboarding buddy, your manager kind of walks you through what's going on. In open source, oftentimes you just show up and you try to figure out how to best contribute, and you might not get the onboarding. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more. There's also some unintentional gatekeeping. Sometimes there's also intentional gatekeeping, but basically that whole thing with you showing up and trying to contribute, you might not always get the most welcoming response. And let's face it, the less you look like the stereotypical engineer, the more sort of gatekeeping you're likely to face. And that's very unfortunate for our community, and we're trying to improve every day. But honestly, like if you are experiencing imposter syndrome about your first open source contribution, know that this not only you, it literally happens to everyone, and especially to underrepresented people. So my advice to you, if you're just getting started, is that you choose a welcoming community. You don't want to do it yourself to go and fight adversity. Basically, you just choose a project that is welcoming, choose a community that is welcoming. So one of the signs of a welcoming project is that they have a code of conduct. So basically, if you go to the repo and then /CONTRIBUTING.md, you will find a code of conduct. And again, some projects don't have it. It kind of tells you that they didn't think through, how to best contribute to their community, how to best make sure that everyone is welcome. If the project of this particular is from Metasploit, and it kind of describes what community standards and norms they have for contributors to their community. So it kind of tells you that these people are more welcoming than others. You can also look at issues and PRs. You can see how people are talking to one another and kind of derive from that what kind of community that really is. And also, it's an important lesson for open source and also in life. Don't be a jerk. Open source maintainers are doing a lot of free work, right? And they don't actually owe you accepting your PR, and they actually get hate mail sometimes with oh, why don't you fix this bug and stuff like that. So just be kind to them and try to help them rather than alienate them in terms of contributions. So let's talk a little bit about how to choose a project to contribute to. So I might say something that is surprising to you or not, I don't know, but if I were starting today, I would not go contribute to Kubernetes. I know this is cool, and I know lots of people want to put Kubernetes on their resume, and that's probably why I wouldn't go and contribute to Kubernetes, because it's a very popular project. Everybody wants to, everyone wants to be involved in that. They get help, and of course they might need more help even than they get already, but there's lots of projects that are less popular that also need your help. So you can look at some of these, and Packet literally had 3 million downloads and only has 250 contributors, of which I'm guessing probably only a couple dozen are active contributors that contribute every day and do a lot of meaningful work. So you can find a project like this where your contributions are going to be more meaningful. Basically, I would choose a project by the fact of, one is this is a technology that you want to gain experience with, right? And the second one, it's a community where you can make a meaningful impact. So one is you actually are welcome in the community, and two is you're actually helping that community. You're not just someone who spams the maintainers, but you're actually someone who's helping them to accomplish something good. And sometimes I also see people contributing in some meaningful way, I don't know, if you have diabetes, you can contribute to open source project related to diabetes, or if you want to contribute to open source project related to fighting COVID-19 or something like that. So kind of choose something that's meaningful to you, that you can actually feel like you're making the world a better place by contributing. Now, how do you get started? So actually, open source projects don't live in outer space. They're not just, floating out there, and they're not just code online. Basically, there's 3 questions that you should be asking is, who do I talk to? What do I work on? And then how do I work on this? So first one, who do I talk to? You actually can find maintainers in multiple ways, right? So you can go to contributors on the repo, and then you can see who's approving PRs, who's actually doing the most code contributions and stuff like that. You can figure out who are these people, right? If a project is well maintained, usually they will also have some description in the README on how to get in touch with them. Usually they will have something like a Discord server. They will have a Slack chat going on or something like that, some way that they could communicate with one another. And if you're not finding any of this information and you really start on contributing to that project, I would also sort of personally get in touch with the top contributors on the project. And again, depending on how popular the project is, the maintainers might be super, super welcoming to you. It might be like, oh my God, someone actually wants to help us do this work. This is amazing. Please, I'll walk you through how to help us do this. So the second question is, what do I work on? So you know probably already that projects have contributing.md, and again, not every project has that. So like if you show up to a page, this is a repo I was working on a while ago, right? And this is how a default /contribute page looks like. So if you have a contribute page that looks like this, it probably means that either the project is not looking for contributions, or the maintainers still haven't gotten around to sort of writing the guidelines in here. So if you're just starting out, I would probably not pick projects that looks like this, because you're less likely to sort of get that hand holding on how to contribute to the project. Now, if we compare and contrast it to some project that is actively maintained and looking for contributions, so this is TensorFlow. Again, you can go to /contribute on the repo, and then you can see, so first of all, it gives you a link to contributing.md, which describes the guidelines on how to actually contribute to the project. What do you need to, download, install, compile, and stuff like that. Run the test before you can contribute a PR and stuff like that. And also, there's usually a list of good first issues, so you can go and pick from them. So these are issues that have been marked by the maintainers as something that would be a good starting task for someone who just coming in to work. And I don't know what just happened. I think my PowerPoint just closed, and we're going to restart it. I'm sorry. Technical difficulties all the way today. Let's try to come back in the same place. All right, am I still sharing my screen? We'll find out. All right, good. Okay, so how do you work on something? There's, again, contributing guidelines in contribute.md, but also for some projects like Gatsby, you can request more guidance on how to contribute. So for instance, Gatsby offers pair programming sessions, so you can actually go and learn how to contribute by working with one of the maintainers. So again, if you're just starting out, it pays off to look for projects like this that are going to help you to contribute in a meaningful way and to get onboarded and to be welcome in the community. Also, remember, like Suzanne said just now, that not all contribution equals code. There are multiple ways to contribute to a project. So one of them is documentation. So actually, even as a developer, if I were coming into a new open source project, I would actually not start by contributing code. I would actually start by writing some documentation, because documentation lets you onboard on the project, understand how it works better, and it also helps both maintainers and the users. And documentation is like a love letter that you write to your future self, right? What could be better than that? Then lots of open source projects also have problems around project management, right? So they need someone who will help them manage the task, manage the workload, track down issues, and make sure that everything is getting taken care of and everything is arranged in the order of priority. And again, some projects will let you actually understand how to get and take care of the project management. For instance, Express.js has a triager guide, right? So you can come in and help them triage issues, and they guide you through the process of how to actually do that. And please remember, like, everybody wants that green square and everybody wants to say my PR has been merged into XYZ project, but it's not all about PRs. It's also about other things. And if you want to contribute to the community in a meaningful way, you would actually be wise to contribute where the maintainers actually need that contribution, where the maintainers need help, rather than fighting to just contribute lines of code. But of course, if you are a developer or if you're learning to be a developer, yes, you want to get to that place where you're contributing code and actually helping to build the software as well. So interestingly enough, so this is open source contribution funnel. So basically, we say that most users will just consume your code. So they will either download that library, or they will fork it, or they will do something like that. They will never actually talk to you. right? Then there's this smaller subset of users that will actually contribute time. So they will log an issue, or they will add to the docs, or they will do something like that. Then a smaller subset of users will actually contribute code. So they will maybe contribute a bug fix or a new test or something like that. But actually the top of the funnel is actually not contributing code, is being a maintainer. So actually joining the community in which you get to influence the future direction of the project and stuff like that, and actually set the what the project looks like, right? So ideally for successful open source projects, we actually want people to go all the way through the funnel and add in the maintainer category. And that usually happens to maybe 1% of all people who come in and initially consume the code, probably even less. So that's more rainbows, because rainbows are good. Let's talk about Oktoberfest a little bit. So basically, it is a project that started to encourage contributions to open source. DigitalOcean maintains a list of projects that are looking for help through Oktoberfest, looking for contributions. But please remember, I hate to go negative on this, but please remember that it is about meaningful contributions and not spam. Maintainers are not looking for your one line or one character spammy PR, and especially, so if you look at how bad the program is, so this literally happened in the span of the first hours of October 1st this year, right? So all of these pull requests are basically spam, and they're spamming top maintainers for top projects. You will see that folks are not very happy about this type of contribution because it is not meaningful and it's actually making their life worse. And so this is a tweet from Ali Spital. She's saying, I don't know who needs to hear this, but a t-shirt isn't worth a maintainer annoyance and negative energy that you get from spamming Oktoberfest. It's not a good career move. This is not the only tweet. If you look at top OSS maintainers, lots of people are sharing their grievances. And we actually, as GitHub, we just released a feature that allows people to limit contributions from folks they don't know. And this is not where we want to go. We want to allow contributions from everybody, but when people get lots of spam, this is what happens. So please remember, a t-shirt is not worth doing bad things to people and spamming them with their already busy day. Please make sure that your contributions are meaningful. And I also want to talk about one more way to support the open source community. So it's not just about contributing code. So about a year ago, we released a feature that allows you to sponsor people on GitHub. So you can sponsor open source maintainers. And we're not charging any fees for these sponsorships. We're just basically transferring this money to maintainers. And some people who were working for free are now able to afford good life because they get, the sponsorships from folks who are consuming their projects. And that's a meaningful way to contribute to the community. Please do remember, again, as usually this happens, the top maintainers, the top projects get the most sponsorships, just like they get the most contributions. Please remember there's lots of open source projects out there. So this is a tweet from my teammate, Brian Douglas, who said, he is going to sponsor people who are then identify as Black open source maintainers to help that community. And there's other ways to look at projects that are meaningful to you and find people who you could sponsor. So if you're able to afford this, you can contribute to the community by sponsoring the maintainers. And this is more rainbows and unicorns. And I'm about at the end of my presentation because I went fast because I wanted to help you out with catching up on the time a little bit. So thank you for this. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Hopefully you took away something meaningful from this presentation. And again, you can find me on GitHub and on Twitter as DivineOps. And please feel free to ask any questions.
Yes, thank you. This was, this was really good. Very useful tips as well. And also, what was just announced today is that you can pause the PRs for a moment.
Yes. So we just released, yesterday, we released a feature that allows you to limit contributions. Like I said, this is not what we want to do, but we also want to take care of top maintainers because they were getting literally hundreds of these requests because of Oktoberfest. Yeah. Again, the message is not to contribute, it's just to contribute in a meaningful way, not to, remove the character. Yeah.
Yeah, let's stay positive. You could also use it if you need a mental break or anything. It's not all bad things, of course, why you would need to pause. And I hope people will use it not because of the spam, but just taking a look in the chat. Well, there's also some experiences, obviously, by people. So if you have any question for Sasha, please reach out in the chat. You did mention the code of conduct, and this reminds me that I, in all the stress, forgot to mention this event has a code of conduct. And you can find the link on the top of the website. If there's anything which is not nice, please let us know. Our contact details are in there, Twitter, email, both from us, the organization for CONTRIBUTING.md, which you're watching right now. Welcome. And from the Oktoberfest organization. So there's multiple ways to reach out in case of any bad people and bad behavior. Good. So well, I hope you will stick around in the chat. And well, once again, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Okay. There's quite some lag, I guess. So let's head over to our next guest, and that's Tatjana. And she's a backend engineer at GitLab. She works on security analysis. You're based in Ukraine, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and you can also find her at Ruby conferences. And well, I specifically remember your talk at Neuruco earlier this year on Ruby and OpenGL. And you also speak French.
A little. I speak French. I've learned it a lot, but I forget almost everything.
Okay, cool. So you will be talking, well, giving us an introduction on Git. Yeah, if you can share your screen, then we can test it out. I think I've seen it, but it went away.
Okay, let me share it. Yeah, so.
Yeah, this is a live event. So just a reminder for the people watching. Well, wait till the screen builds itself up. Hopefully, my computer doesn't crash again. So welcome to Contributing.md. This is an open source meetup around Oktoberfest. We'll be kicking off today. Until 12 o'clock this evening. We'll have various workshops and nice interactions. So please feel free to join the chat. Make it interactive. Reach out if you have any questions or remarks, or just want to hang out with people. There's all kinds of channels for the projects who joined us for this event. So, well, mingle a little bit. We're all behind the screen and in the same situation, and we can use that human connection, I think. So please do so. And during the event, you might ask why. Well, if you combine them, you can submit that word later on and win a swag package. Okay, I see your screen now, so let me try and see if I can get it in here. Yes.
So I can start?
Yes.
Great. So let me. Okay, so thank you for joining us today for this event. I wanted to talk to you about Git and what is exactly this tool and how we can work on it. And I really apologize because I didn't have a presentation, and I want to show you how it's done, how you can work with Git. But I apologize if it's not really clear and if it's too small. So I have prepared one little project for you, and welcome to my kitchen because I have a fridge there, and it's full of different products. And these projects that we have, it's really silly one and really abstract, but it's imitate all the problems that people have, and when they work with real open source and not only open source projects. So how actually what we have here is a project which contains only one file, which is fridge.txt, and it's already have some history, and it have some commits. So if you go to the history of commits, you can see that something happened with the fridge, and people operate with it and take food, buy more food, and like do all sort of stuff. So this project have some history. So how it's actually possible to collaborate? It's possible because we have this amazing tool which called Git. So Git is a distributed distributed version control system to version software source code. But it not only be applied to the source code, but as well to any other text, basically text files like documentation and so on. And so how it operates? It's create snapshots of your project one by one, and every snapshot is based on another one, and this snapshot is called commit. Commit have a few important information: the name of the commit, the name of the author, like the time when it was created, some meta information, and the most important, it contains a hash. Hash could be represented as a name of the commit, and it's unique, and you can identify this commit by this name, and it will be always unique in terms of this repo or this project. So you can see that something changed, many changes happened in this commit. And right now we'll try to create a commit by our own. So I'm working on this RubyMine IDE, and I'll be using it because I want to show you this beautiful visualization of this project. And you can see that a lot of happened here. So we have different commits here, and they arranged in a different list. So list of the commits is called a branch, and also the graph of the project can be represented as their kind of a tree. So we have the project can have a lot of different branches, but the most important one is a main branch. In my project called master, as analogy to master copy from sound recording. And it also can be called trunk or main branch or default, whatever. And this is actually our history of the project. This is actually what happened. This is these changes that were accepted, and they are the part of this repository. And what we have on other branches, this is request to be a part of this source code. So maybe we can just delete this branch, or maybe like when we create a PR, a maintainer won't somehow just like close this PR and so on. But this is kind of our intention to do this change. So right now we are on the master branch, which is like a main one. And I would like to create maybe some new branch, create some new part of the history of this repository, do some changes, and create a node pull request. So let's just do some changes. So for example, I want to have one garlic clove. Yeah. So we already make some changes to the file, and the file is altered, and we want to commit this change. So it's really dangerous to do everything on master, because if you work on your local repository, you can do whatever changes you want. But if you collaborate with other people, so basically this main branch, it's always banned or prevented from like applying changes whatsoever. You need to have some permissions. Usually, like only maintainers can do this. Otherwise, it could be just a mess. So we have to create our own new branch to do these changes. So we'll need the command git checkout -b, and let's call it vegetable branch. Okay, we created a new branch, and we'll be creating a new part of the history right now. So we already have some changes, and I can show this change with diff command. So you can see that we changing this line, and we are reducing the amount of garlic in the fridge. So let's commit it. We have to do it in 2 steps. The first one, to add our file to the stage of the commit. Right, we added it. So if we check the status of the stage, we can see that we are on the back branch, and this file fridge.txt was modified, and it's ready to be committed to the branch. So what is left to do is just commit the file. We need to add flag message, so we can get some meaningful description to this commit. And I've moved garlic, so let me take garlic. Right. And yeah, this change was committed. Let's go to see the virtual graph of our repository. So we have here our commit. So you can see that it's on a new branch, and it's called take garlic, and we can see that it was changed. Right. So we have our commit, but we have our changes. We are committed them, but they exist only on my machine right now. So, and like it doesn't really help, because when we collaborate with other people located in different places, and we somehow have to centralize these changes. And right now, what will be helping us is the websites that host software. There are like many of them, Bitbucket, like GitLab, where I work, and GitHub that you'll be using for creating your Hacktoberfest PRs. And this is different. Like there is a difference. Git is just a tool that you install on your machine that help you to operate repository, do all the command, and so on. And GitHub is another piece of software that hosts your code and allow you to collaborate with other people. And let's just do this. Let's just commit this code, like push this code to GitHub. So what we can start. So we have our branch, and as well, this branch right now, it exists only on my machine. Let's go to the, let's go to the repository that we have here. Yes, so you can see that, let's just see the list of branches that we have on the site. We have only master branch. This all, like, why it's so different? Why on the GitHub we have only one branch? On my local machine we have like different branch, like quick dinner, and that's all. It's actually because Git is distributed version control system. You can have one version of the repository on your machine, and you can have one version on GitHub. You can even push these changes to GitLab and have like very asynchronous way to collaborate. But usually people tend to have like some central location which will be the source of truth, and like the main branch there will be source of truth for all the for this repository. So we have here on GitHub, we have only master branch, and we want to push this new back branch to GitHub. Let's do it. So the command will be very simple. It's called push. Git push. And it doesn't work right away because we have to make a connection with a remote. So in Git, there are different computers like that you can connect to, called remotes. So GitHub, it's not kind of a computer, it's a website, but in terms of my machine, it's called origin. And I've just copied this command, and we'll push these changes. So let's see, we are pushing to GitHub my branch back branch. Let's do this. Okay, we can see that it's pushed, and we already have like a link where we can create a pull request. So it's very important to write meaningful text and this description of your pull request, so author or maintainers can understand what you want to, like, why do you want to do with this change. Like my one is not very meaningful. I'm just like taking garlic away from the fridge. I don't know. And we can create pull request. Yeah, so this one was very simple. But usually when you work on your project, on your contribution, there some different situation happens. First of all, when you work on your branch locally, that means that some other people also work on their branches, and something happened with their master. Some persons' PRs are approved and they are merged, and more stuff get to the branch. And I'll tell you a bit later how to update your local branch with the master, and how to resolve the conflicts. Because if you, for example, change something on your branch and other people change it on master, so like, there will be not very clear what will be the source of the truth, what the end version should look like. And another problem that I want to discuss right now is to actually how we can clean up our commits when we do the changes, but we doesn't look like what we got. So, for example, let's just take a look at this quick dinner branch. You can see that the commit message is not very good, and it's not very good to commit to merge such changes in such state. It will be better to clean them up and make it beautiful, and people can understand what's going on, like what the changes are about. And also you can see that other commits in my repository, they have very special template for the name of the messages. And when you contribute to some project, you should always follow their style guide for messages to commits to and to the code as well. So I would like to change this branch. I don't like the message of this commit. I want to change it somehow, and I want to remove this forgot, like blend these two commits, because in the one we are baking vegetables in, and we forgot to add cheese, and probably we don't want to show other people that we forgot cheese, and we want to just blend this commit into one. And yeah, it's possible. We can alter the history of this commit, and we have some tools for it. So the first, I would like to very quickly show you how we can change the commit, which was the last on the branch. So this one, it's like it's the last one, and there is nothing. It's it's called also ahead of the branch, and the last, like actually the first commit on the branch is called the base. So we want to alter the head of the branch, and we can actually do it by creating a new commit, but with the flag amend. So when you add this flag, it doesn't create a new commit, but rather change the previous one. And let's just take a look on the hash of this commit. So this is 41A60 and so on. And what we do is we have to switch to the branch quick dinner. Right, we are on the branch, or we can, with the command git log, we can see the latest commit that we have, which is a whatever. And let's just alter it. So we actually, like, let's suppose that the changes was done, they're all right, but we want to change the message to commit, and we just need to run the command git commit -m, and I remember that we are adding yogurt there. Let it be like that. And we need the flag amend. So, right, running this, and we created new commit, but let's take a look on our graph of our repository. You can see that the last commit on the quick dinner branch was altered. Right now it's not whatever, it's called add yogurt, and I probably made some mistake in spelling, but it's not problem right here. And you can see that right now the hash of the commit was changed. So every time you alter the history of your commit, the hash is changed. So basically, you need to understand it as a different different type of the commit. It's really different for the tool. And let us just so we are running a bit of time, but so let us just update this commit and make it prettier. So to do this, we have to find the first commits that are good, and we'll be blending baking vegetables and forgot cheese together. So like the first good commit that is good, it's this one, and we are copying its hash. And what we want to do, we want to run a command git rebase with flag interactive, and we are adding the hash, like the name of the commit, like the first, like our base, what was the good, the latest good commit. So for base, like you can see from the name, so this command without this flag interactive, it just changing the base of your branch, make it a upper. But if you add this beautiful flag, you can also change your commits, change the history, and make it cleaner. So what we want to do, so like I run this command and I got this screen when I can see what I can do with my commits. So there is description on it. So when we pick it, we will be using this commit without any changes. So we want to pick this one, but we all want to blend this commit in the previous one. And there is a flag squash for it. It's very useful when, for example, if you want to create a branch with one commit, so you can do this with the squash. With squashing, and I guess that's all. So we are saving this, and when we save this, that will be like a algorithm to do what to do for a git rebase command. So we are running this, and we right now we are trying to blend to commit, and we want to actually update the message of this commit. And let's just remove this line about this, and we can save it, merge. Yeah, let's just see how the branch look like. So I guess it's okay, and we are almost ready to push it to GitHub, but we also need to change the base of this commit. So if you, or maybe just push it and I'll show you what happens. So as the previous time, we don't have connection with GitHub, so we are creating this one. Yeah, it's pushed. Let's create another pull request, and you can see that we can't merge it because we have conflicts, and this happens because someone changed. We changed this bridge file, and on the master branch it also was changed, and now we have to resolve the conflicts. So to do this, we actually can use the command git merge master. So when we run this command, it will take two branches, master and quick dinner, and it tried to unite it. So it won't, because it won't be able to unite it. So it will have to resolve the conflicts. And when we'll resolve the conflicts, it will create another snapshot, another commit, and it will be like a head of our branch. So yeah, we have the conflicts, and this is, I guess, this is the most important part, resolving conflicts with the master. So you can see that conflicts is represented by this visualization. So here, like we have the changes on our branch, and here we have the changes that are existing master, and have to choose what version do we prefer. And because the latest on the master was like update the food on the fridge, so we just can only run with using only changes from our branch. Let me just remove it. All right. So we fixed the conflicts. We'll need to add peg this we need to add this file back. We are adding it, and then we have to commit it. And we already have like pre-recorded commit message will be merge branches, and we'll save it, and it's done. Now we can push our branch again to GitHub. Yeah, it's pushed, and we can see what changed right now. So the branch doesn't have conflicts, and we can successfully like open our pull request to review, and we can actually ready to go with merging these changes. So this will be all from me, and I really wish you good luck with your pull request for Oktoberfest, and have fun, and let's make the open source a better place for everybody. So that's all from me, and guess we'll be waiting for Susan.
Yes, Suzanne, could you switch us over? So, waiting.
Yes, this is a surprise, right? Like, hello. Good.
There we are.
So thank you very much. That was, yes, we're here. Still here. We're not going anywhere until 12 o'clock this evening. So thank you very much. There were some questions in the chat for you. And it was about, yes, when, if at all, would you recommend a GUI tool like Git Kraken or Source Tree or VS Code with plugins? Would you recommend that for beginners at all?
I would definitely recommend it. I'm I just as you saw that I'm using the visual tools myself, and I guess it's really helpful. I also like to, maybe I'll show you. I also like this is what I was preparing for the talk. I also love to draw like everything by myself, to just understand like what is a history and how it works, and yeah. So I would definitely recommend to have some additional tool if it help you to get job done.
Yeah, I think
Cool.
not necessary.
Well, thank you very much. Now, people, if you have I'm quiet now. No, okay. So thank you very much for joining us. Please, stick around. There's quite some activity in the chat. Also, I invite everybody to keep posting your questions there, and look at all the channels. Thank you, Tatjana, for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So
Okay.
It's just between us now.
Yep.
If you look at the site at contributing.today, then you might have noticed that we have more channels added. This is for the workshops. So we have 3 workshops running simultaneously. Let me just grab them, because I have a terrible memory. So on this channel, we will have Lian Lee joining us with the workshop on adopting a code of conduct, which we have talked about with Sasha as well. In channel 2, we have inclusive documentation. We'll be joined there by Tetudek and Monica Rush. And in channel 3, we have a workshop, Writing a README.md by Tanya Allard. So please feel free to join these workshops. If you have a question, please ask them in the chat, which belongs to the specific workshop. And there, oh, wow, what a surprise. Who'd thought this? We have another letter dropped. This is the second letter. It's the U. Now, if you complete these letters, well, there will be some more, then you can put together a word. And now we know for sure it's not spam. So this one we can cross off. There was some discussion in the chat. But do keep an eye out for them. If you have the word complete, then you can win a nice swag package, which we will reveal after the workshops. We will first join the workshops. And that's not all for today, right, Nick?
No, not at all. I think after the workshops, we'll have a break. Well, we call it a break, but actually it's just you and me chatting away about some of our experiences with open source. Also trying to go into a little bit of controversial topics, I might say. So that's going to be fun. And then basically before we actually start the hacking part of Oktoberfest, we will be showing you
controversial topics.
Yes, yeah. So after the controversy, we'll be going into the kind of meeting the projects and the maintainers, so you can actually see the faces behind those amazing projects and see actually what they are expecting of you. What do they have actually available for you to contribute to? So we had a great time recording those videos, and actually, as said, we have Oktoberfest for the entire month of October. We'll have more of these videos coming up on our site, so keep coming back to contributing.today for more of these cool videos and introductions to these projects. And yeah, take it as a first step to continue to contribute beyond October. Make it Hacktember if you want to, and so on, and Hack January, for example. So yeah, we'll then I think we'll then go into basically the hacking part of our event, where you can actually on Discord you can go into the specific channels. Let us know if there's any project that you're working on that you want to contribute to, for which we don't have a channel yet. So just let us know. We're quite agile in how we run this. So yes, hacking forum teams reach out to the maintainers of the projects. Many of them are joining our Discord, so you can really have one-to-one or one-to-few communications with them. Make sure you're part of the team, and that's what this is all about. So now I think it's about time that we can move into the workshops. So as mentioned by Suzanne, we'll have Leon Lee, we'll have then Monica Rush and Ted Hudek in the second stream, and then finally Tanya Allard. And so just check on our site which channel you want to switch to, and hope to see you there in just a couple of seconds.
Yes, and if the stream is not live yet, please, hold on for a minute, because we're like a very small team and mixing between different live streams and stuff with their control centers, opening links. Oh, what link was it? You can only imagine the stress behind the scenes. Now, I do want to highlight one thing, that is this event has a code of conduct. It's you find it at the top. If you have any questions, please join us in the chat. And please, like Nick said, stick around. Stick around. This is just a kickoff, and we want to have everybody enthusiastic about open source. We want you to find a good place, a good community to be a part of, a good project to support. And this is the most important thing. So indeed, in that list, there's a lot of projects there. But you have that one project which you think is valuable, add it. Just add the channel. You know, bring us in touch. Let's record an interview. And these interviews you can find on the website as well. There's a button next to the live streams which you can press, and then you will see all the recorded interviews up to today. Now, I'm not alone anymore. I see my guest has joined. It's Lian Lee. Hello.
Hi.
I don't caught you off guard.
No, I was not doing anything.
So thank you for joining us for this workshop. Yes, you are a cloud native consultant. You are well known in the community in the Netherlands, if I might add. And yes, well, you are all over the place. So for the people who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, yeah. So as you said, I'm a cloud native consultant. I work for a company called Container Solutions, which some of you probably have also heard of because we do a lot of events in the community space. I organize Serverless Days Amsterdam with an amazing team, both the meetup and the conference. And I think what's also relevant for this is that I'm also part of the Global Code of Conduct team for Global Diversity CFP Day, which is a really cool one-day workshop where we encourage and teach new future speakers to send in their first CFP and just give their first tech talk.
Cool. So you joined us today. Well, with us, you'll be holding the workshop. This is like terrible English from my side, but you will tell us more about adopting conduct. Now, this is obviously a very important topic, which luckily gets more and more attention. And I'm happy this is I get to join, so I have full attention for you. Lian, take it away.
Thank you so much. So I will try to share my screen because I did prepare some slides. We'll see how that works. Okay, one sec. So if it doesn't work, you need to somehow let me know, probably through the Discord, because that's where I am. No, I don't need to share this. Okay. So, as I said before, I'm a part of the Global Code of Conduct team for Global Diversity CFP Day. And that is an event that is focused on people who have been marginalized, who are minorities. So we really thought a lot about what does it need to make those people feel safe and give them the best environment and space to be creative and to be honest and to tell their story, because that's what we want from people who give talks. So a lot of those learnings we put into some documents, and I've used that also to organize different events this year. And so I was approached by, I think, Flora to help out with a workshop. I didn't really incorporate any real activities. I'm just going to pretty much give a talk. And if you're on Discord, you can just ask some questions there, because I'm going to see that. If not, then this is just mainly a talk, and it would be great to have a conversation though. So if you watch it later, hit me up on Twitter, and we can talk about everything concerning how to choose a COC and also act on it. So the first question I think that most people ask themselves, obviously, is why do I need a COC? And the argument usually is because, we should just be nice to each other. And that is a good point. I think that we should be nice to each other, but it's more than just being nice. It's also to create a professional and constructive space. So I think we should all, especially in a community, try and contribute to creating the best possible space. And a COC specifically is not supposed to be something to it's supposed to be a sword, a shield, and not a sword. So you're not supposed to use it to hurt someone or to do something. It's supposed to be a shield. So it's supposed to protect, and supposed to protect the most vulnerable among us. So a COC will help you, hopefully, with that. So you'll be able to also act on things that was never intended, like things that just kind of turned out that way. As an example, the controversy that happened over Hacktoberfest, where this was clearly something that was not intended by the people who organized it, but it happened because there was no one specifically said don't do these things. And it's just that you didn't think of it. But a COC might be able to help you with catching all these instances where you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what someone will during your event. So I'm going to also check. Sorry, I don't have my speaker notes on, and I'm doing this the very first time, giving this particular workshop. So I'm going to wait. Okay. All right. So a COC will ideally help you with two things. One is that it will make clear where your boundaries are. It will make clear. It will make clear what the rules are at your event. And the physical and mental health of the attendees should be among your most important concerns as an organizer of any kind of event. So I think that the COC will be able to help you with providing this, the safety. So a COC will help you explicitly stating your values. It will help you make marginalized folks feel safe, because this is essentially about how prepared are you to deal with situations. And I'm going to talk a bit more about that later. And it will help you also to have a basis for taking action if it would be necessary to do so. So if you don't have any rules written down that someone agrees to, then there's little to no basis for action, because you didn't actually agree on anything specifically. So this is the thing about COCs. They're usually trying to be as specific as possible while remaining as vague as necessary. So you're not going to penalize or not going to describe specific actions, but you're trying to get like a good generalization of what it is that you expect from your attendees. So, but we're going to get a bit more practical. So, okay, how would you then, now that you know that you have to have a COC to just make sure, pretty much, how do you pick or write a COC? So for one thing, there are some that already exist. So the first one is, if you don't have like any base to go off on, there's the site codeofconduct.com, and it pretty much has a basic rundown. There's a very quick version that's pretty much just like, don't harass people, don't hurt people based on their properties that they don't have any power over. I think that's a good rule of thumb, generally speaking, that like if it's something that someone does not have power over, you better not like comment on it in any way. And this is like dangerous territory, because you don't know what kind of feelings are associated with those things. So you better stay clear of like making comments about something that people could possibly feel like strongly about. I know that this is like sometimes not a clear line to draw, but that's why these kinds of code of conduct templates will help you with that. So you can more or less copy paste this, but you should definitely, I mean, obviously you should read through this and make sure you understand the language of it and you understand the gist of it, like the core of this. And you should adapt it to your particular situation. These are obviously still for offline events, but the general rule of thumb applies to online events as well. It's mainly about like, okay, so I'm thinking about how to phrase this. So in your work as event organizers, it's important to not insert yourself into these situations, like your own values, because you might be biased as well. So we'll also talk about this later, but these particular properties that are listed here are there for a reason, because these are the ones that people do get harassed over. And even though you might not understand it, or you might know someone who feels okay about it, like this is your personal experience and your personal bias that you have from your personal life. And so that's why I always recommend getting like a template like this that's already done, instead of writing it completely on your own, because you might just bring your own bias into it. I also want to show you this code of conduct that we have from the Global Diversity CFP Day. And this is like a bit of a longer one where we go a little bit deeper into like what it means to be at a Global Diversity CFP Day. So these were workshops with 20 to 50 people. And we were very aware that we're inviting specifically people who are underrepresented and marginalized. So we were trying to be like extra aware of the vulnerability and the need to protect people here. So we also added the steps to report, like what exactly you have to do to report a violation, and also the steps that we are taking after a report has been made. And then this is the list of the people, because we also wanted to be very transparent about who it is on the team, and then also which issues occurred. We wanted to be extra transparent. So these were just two examples. I'm sure there are others on the internet that you can just look and copy and paste it, which it's totally fine. Just make sure that you read it yourself and you understand it and you can enforce it and explain it to someone else. All right. So, yeah, a COC should put the emphasis on protecting the most vulnerable, which means that you're not supposed to like find the right point in it. The COC is to protect. So if you were to have to make a determination, then like a he said, she said, or they said, you should always try and put the emphasis on the person who's more vulnerable in the specific situation. And I don't want to go too much into detail about what kind of situations these could be, but I think you can most of the time get a good feeling about what is happening and who's like using their particular position to maybe harass someone else. Yeah, this is an important point in that context, that the COC is not a tool to mediate any disagreements between people who are equals. It's just, that's not what it is for. And this is not what you should try to do. A person who is a famous speaker, for example, who's been accused of harassment, they're not being silenced, or they're not being excluded from the industry as such. So it's not like you're really taking away their platform if it's this one-time thing for you. If it's someone who has had if the person who has been accused of something and has is in a more powerful position, then usually the impact for them is not as big as the impact for the person who's been hurt and who's been harassed. So, yeah, a COC should encompass all behavior, be it speech or action, on all platforms associated, with your event. So this is like a general guideline, just to be also aware of the fact that you could also have platforms like social media platforms that are associated with your event, and you should also make sure that your COC applies to them as well, because there can be things that happen there that will reflect negatively or make the people who are just attending your event unsafe. Right. So the next question would then be, if you've picked a COC, how you should communicate it to the outside world to make sure that everyone sees it. So there are multiple ways. You have to definitely make sure that every person who participates in the event, so that means the attendees, the speakers, the sponsors, but also the organizers themselves, everyone who has any part in this event, they have to read and agree to the COC upfront before the event happens. So if you're selling tickets online, you can make that a requirement to agree to the COC. And again, this is so you can say later that this person has agreed to the code of conduct, which states that this is not acceptable and they will be removed if this happens. And this will give you kind of the base to actually do that. So yeah, I would recommend to just put this as like a check mark to buying the ticket. Also, you should have the COC ideally at the event. Always have a link to it, or just make it always accessible so people don't have to like actually Google it if they need it. Yeah, and also, as I said, make sure that also the organizers have read and agreed to the COC. Yeah, so if you're sending emails, if you're sending tweets, or maybe with tweets it's different, but in all kinds of like longer communications, you should always include your COC. Just again, for people to have easy reference to it. It is a very important aspect, and especially in communications, it's even more important, because if there's something offensive in those communications, then the COC is right there for the person to access it. If this is something that we did in our COC for the Global Diversity CFP Day, that we also published the process on how we will handle reports regarding COC violations. And that was because there was a report being made, and people were basically criticizing that it wasn't clear how exactly we came to that conclusion. So that was fair. That was totally fair. And so since then, we published the process on how we will react to COC violation reports. And also, if you're like super, super good, you can send out a message specifically about your COC and to explain the process. So you can just send one message like, this is our COC. This is what will happen if you report it, if you report a violation, and just to make people extra aware that this exists. And I think that's also something that will make clear that you put thought into this, that you take it seriously, and will make it more likely for people who are marginalized to attend your event. Yeah. So if you have picked a COC, you've communicated, then the question is now like how, if some violations should occur, they should be reported to you. You should offer as many channels as you can, because the more channels you have, the more likely it is that people will actually report them to you. And you can also let people know that they can report something after the event, so you can take preventative measures for the future. But just be aware that you also have to reduce it to the channels that you can realistically monitor, because you should react as timely as possible. And if it's 6 different channels that you just don't have the time to actually do, then it's better to just focus on 1 or 2. So these could be platforms where you report violations. It could be via phone or video chat, email, Google form, WhatsApp, Slack, Twitter, anything that you can think of that makes it easier for you to accept those reports. That's what you should go for. And if you're doing offline events, which I hope you're doing socially distanced, you can also provide a room to report those violations in. So this room should be secret in the sense that the attendees are not explicitly aware of that room, but the other organizers are. So then if someone sees an attendee going in with the person who's in charge of the COC, everyone else knows what is happening, but the attendees don't. So if this has now been reported to you, then the next question is how you should handle those COC violations. Definitely you should have at least one person to handle those violations, those reports. It would be even better if you had 2. So sorry, I lost my thing. The number of 2, to have 2 people makes it a little bit easier to also have someone dedicated to the attendees in general to keep an eye out there. So at least one is, I think, the best way to go, because if you're doing other things at the same time, you're not fully able to react in time. Sorry, this is really weird to have a workshop with no one in front of you. Okay. When a report is made to you, you should always respond in a way that makes the reporter feel that you believe them. Someone reports a violation they're already in a vulnerable spot. And you should do whatever is in your power to make them feel comfortable and make them feel that you believe them. Even if you shouldn't, you can act on that later. You can just discuss this with the other organizers or the other person on the COC team. But in the moment, you need to always be empathetic with the person reporting to you, obviously. You should prioritize the most vulnerable. Again, the whole point of the COC is to protect people who are vulnerable. So in a decision where you have a one-to-one situation, then you should always err on the side of the person who's more vulnerable. If you can, you should try to not make the reporter actually confront the offender unless they want to do that. So that means that in the reporting process, you might want to have like a plan B in case the person who's being reported is the person who's also handling the reports. So you should always have a way for a person to report to someone who's not the offender. If you have to further investigate what happened, you should think about anonymizing the report. So just leave out the name, gender, whatever properties, to make sure that later on this person is not put on the spot. Again, this ties into the thought of protecting the people who are most vulnerable, who are in need of someone to act on their behalf. If it's possible, you should always try and create a learning moment. But also, again, make sure that the person who reported is safe. But if, for example, we had situations where someone would make a comment and they're not aware that this specific language has specific intonations or connotations, if the reporter is safe and feels safe about it, you can try and, for example, discuss this in the group. This is the best possible outcome, I think, if you can share a moment of learning, because that will always bring people more together, and that's, I think, yeah, what you should always strive for. And yeah, but if there's any like real harassment going on, then just ask the person to leave and do not make the reporter relive that trauma of discussing it. If there's an extreme case where laws have been broken, just call the police immediately. This is way above your pay grade, and you need to have this handled by professionals. Make sure to document everything that has happened to give just the most accurate account possible. But leave it. This is not something that you should deal with. So something that might help you is this document we created. You can find it under bit.ly. The link are in the slides, which I'm going to share after this. And this was something we tried to create as just to help people to prepare for having to handle COC violation reports, because it's something that we don't really, like, you never hope to do this, and it's very uncomfortable, but you have to at least feel prepared. And this document is hopefully something that will help you with this. So we created some scenarios where we describe a situation and then suggest a way to handle. In this case, we were the global team who would also oversee all the events that happened. So this is not the same here, but you can still read through this. This is not a rule or law for you, but just a suggestion, what we think would be best to do. And these are scenarios like where we had mentors who are kind of like speakers, and then for just the attendees for their behavior. So yeah, you can just read through this and see if something's helpful for you. And if you can also try and role play situations just to make it more comfortable for you, so you feel confident. All right, so we're almost at the end. What else can I do? So yeah, what else can you do to make people feel comfortable? I would say that you need to just be aware that this is your event and you want to make sure that people are safe and have the best environment around them to get what they came for, pretty much, to be as productive as they want to. So I don't know if it's the stream, but something froze. Oh, okay, here we go. Yeah, so I would just suggest to always be proactive. You don't have to wait for something to have happened. If you, like, the COC only acts after the fact, but if you should always try to stop things from happening in the first place. So if you sometimes read, hear inappropriate comments, and you feel like this is not quite a violation of the COC, you don't have to stay passive and wait until it happens. You can take the person aside and remind them to be respectful towards others, that this is not a violation yet, but it's like still maybe makes you uncomfortable. So just try and create a culture of like openness and honesty, and but it's also safety and comfort. Just remember that this is your event and the safety of your attendees should be your highest priority, as I said at the beginning. But also don't forget to have fun, and having a COC and enforcing it, it's not super comfortable always, but also at the same time, it's something that's very rewarding, because people will tell you that this is something that makes them feel safe, because people don't always feel safe at events like these. Even with remote events, it's still, for some people, it's still difficult because they're not being adequately protected from abuse and harassment. So you have the chance as an event organizer to help marginalized people to feel safe and be productive. And that's all I have. So I'm going to check Discord again to see if there's any questions. I'm also going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to come back to Restream. So I'm by myself now, and I'm not super sure. I can stay here for a while and see if there are any questions. Nick is there.
Hello, Leanne.
Hi.
So yeah, thanks for your session. Let me quickly check up on our Discord if we have any questions. And just as a
there
reminder,
is a question.
Yes, good. You can see it there, Leon. Oh yeah. Why should I sign a code of conduct before I can do anything for a community? It has no legal standing, and the community seems to think I need to be distrusted to begin with. For me, that would be a huge turnoff, and I think it would be a reason a community will die from its own wokeness. Anything you can say about that?
Right. I'm just going to see if I understand the question correctly. So why should I sign a COC? This is you attending an event, and you agree to a COC before you can do anything. So you want... If I'm understanding you correctly, you're asking that if you haven't done anything for a community, you would not want to sign one. So it has no legal standing. The community seems to think I need to be distrusted to begin with. All right. Okay. So I personally don't think that it's a question of distrust. I think it's more about agreement, and it's about agreeing on how you want to treat each other and how you want to work with each other. So I can, for example, maybe draw a parallel towards if you work with another person or another team, it makes sense to set up an agreement. Like we always do pair programming, we always do pull request reviews, something like that. And it's not to because I'm distrusting you. It's because this is the way that we both can agree on working together. And I personally think that a COC is similar to that, where we just agree on, we want to be respectful. We don't want to talk about, or we don't want to comment on sexuality or gender or race, something like that. So just move away from that and try and focus on the thing that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that one. I think, yeah, it's, I agree that indeed it is kind of what are the terms and conditions, and in which way do you as a conference indeed want to operate? And indeed, it's not starting with distrust. It's just setting out the lines in which between which you want to work and run your conference. Another question I see here from somebody online is how can people be covered by code of conduct?
How can people be covered by? I'm not super sure what the question means.
Yes, it's not that clear for me either. Maybe if the person that posted that question can elaborate a bit. Thank you. We don't see the immediate name here.
I'm going to also share the slides now, but yeah.
A question from my side, Leanne.
Yes.
Is in terms of the current situation. So you've been in conferences for a bit. Do you see this evolving? That more and more conferences are putting up a code of conduct. Are there any specific things that you see evolving in code of conducts over time?
I do see it more, and I also see that people are very aware that a code of conduct should always be part of your event. I can empathize with people who feel this is something that wasn't there before, and they don't understand why it needs to be there. And I think that's probably because for people who think this, not much has changed how they feel at conferences, and that's great. But there are people like me, for example, who didn't feel super comfortable at a lot of events 10 years ago when I started. And since events have been more aware to have code of conduct and to enforce them, I've seen personally from my experience that events have become more open, have become more diverse. And I think it's going to be more in that direction. And I think that's great. And I hope that you'll also see that this is an enrichment for us all.
Yeah, totally agree. Suzanne, welcome. No.
Yes. So there's another question. And I think it's a clarification of the one which was quite unclear. Can a code of conduct protect against any sort of discrimination, such as accessibility issues or other behaviors?
Right. Okay. So accessibility issues, I think also as an organizer of an event, you should think about these things. These are your responsibility. I'm not sure if then you have to have a code of conduct, because ideally you have provided accessibility. But if it's, I'm thinking the question means discrimination, not necessarily in terms of actions or words, but more like accessibility issues. So more the issues of the specific location or framework. That's at least how I interpret that question. So Rainbow Hacker, if I'm wrong about that, please correct and try and, I don't know, formulate it in a different way. But generally, if I interpret the question another way, I would say that yes, a COC should definitely protect against accessibility, like discrimination against like otherly able people, definitely. So yeah, as I said, the to speak and to act, that's one thing, but then also maybe if you make specific things with your hands, like signs or something like that, that should also be covered. But you can't always cover each specific thing. You can't cover each specific action or word. So you need to be kind of like more, like you need to catch all. So it's more about harassing and abusing than it is about specific behavior, if that makes sense.
Yes, thanks. Thanks, Leanne.
Yes, and
I think in terms,
you you can protect people from happening. Stuff will happen, but at least you will be open and you share your contact details, and preferably many different channels on which you're reachable, and it's a start. And if there is an accessibility issue or anything, at least you have some contact details. And we as community, as organizers, we are not that anonymous then. You can just reach out and be it anything.
Yeah. I agree.
So
and it doesn't necessarily have to be
to improve stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. And this also the thing that organizers should also be people who could be reported. It has happened at the Global Diversity CFP Day as well. We're all like human, and we all have grown up in a specific way. Maybe we've been taught things that we no longer believe is true, but it's still somehow in us. So it's not something that we should be super scared of. It should be something where we can learn from. So maybe you did do something super shitty and you were removed from an event, but if you're able to learn from that, if you can show that you understand what you did wrong and you're improving, then I'm pretty sure that every community would be able to welcome you back again.
Yeah, I think those are indeed very exact words in the sense that indeed.
Okay.
We don't. Yeah, a code of conduct is not there necessarily to ban people forever, but rather indeed that we look at how are people responding to a code of conduct, and are able indeed to adjust their behavior such they are again welcome to communities.
Yeah.
Suzanne, you were going to say something.
No, I totally agree, and thank you so much for joining us and sharing this with the community. Some questions about the content and more links. I'm sure you will share them. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, and good luck with the rest of the event.
Thanks a lot, Leanne.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, let's hope that it will be better than the start. So, well, it's just between us again.
Yes.
You're laughing. Hey, don't we have a second letter to drop? Yes. Okay, cool.
Yes. I think we dropped already the second letter.
Yes. And it will be. We dropped the second, so now the third, which is. Yeah, there was someone in the chat who said, "Yeah, it's your name. It's Suzanne." But no, that is not really true. right?
No. Well,
It's
maybe.
the D.
Oh, which technically speaking is also part of your name. Actually, Suzanne, your last name.
It is also part of my name. Yes, yes.
So
Maybe it's my yes, the first part of my username. Could be.
so
Yes,
did
what could that
we
be?
actually disclose how many letters were
So
actually going to
keep
show?
an eye out for the rest of the letters. Well, now that you ask the question, I can totally imagine that I haven't told anybody how much letters there are. So it's 4. So we need one more letter.
Yes.
So if you are hanging on and thinking like, oh, come on, how much longer? Not that much longer. So this is officially our break. So after our break, we will have the contributors sharing which projects they have, how you can join them, what kind of skills they are looking for, and much more. And then we can start some interaction, hopefully.
Yes,
so
indeed.
This is the break. So feel free to, make sure
that you take a break.
You stay hydrated.
Or should we throw some dilemmas in the mix here? Actually, I've been looking at the developer dilemmas, and I got a nice one that got thrown at me, which is quite relevant for our event right now. And the dilemma was actually, is it for you either Discord or Slack? What would you say, Suzanne?
Yes, I'm gonna. Well, there's 2 communities I joined on Slack. So based on the communities, this is okay. I'm not going. Okay, yes, yeah, Discord, yes,
Yeah.
Yes. For me, it is Discord, totally, yes. And for you,
yeah. For me, it's Discord as well. Actually, well, the thing is, usually you have a plethora. It's a nice word of these communication programs. So we have Teams, we have Slack, we have Discord. There's many other things, but still, yeah, I'd say Discord is my favorite one if I had to choose between Discord and Slack. Yeah, hands down. Yes. So I'm just wondering what the score would be. So looking at basically the results on the developer dilemmas on the site there, basically Discord only gets 35% of the people behind it, which is quite amazing. So we're not part of the majority, Suzanne. Oh, this is a good one.
Yes,
if you're into another
can
one.
only wonder if that's because.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the next one is actually for our people watching series, and it is actually Mr. Robot or Westworld. Actually, I have to pass that one on to you because I'm not that much of a series watcher. How about you?
Yes, well, I have to disappoint you because you thought, well, she watches a lot of series, and I do watch a lot of series. I don't know when I do that, but somehow I am able to do that as well. But both are not streamed on any streaming service I watch. So I have to pass on this one.
Yeah, same here. So let's just pick one.
Yeah.
Oh wow! And then one final one.
I do want
Yeah.
to highlight one series I'm really watching.
Yeah.
And that's Ratchet.
Yeah.
If you're seeing this and you're like, I don't know, I want a good, beautiful cinematographic experience in a series, and I want I want it to be a little bit uneasy, then this is a perfect suggestion to watch.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I said I'm not into series that much. And if I'm into series, it's mostly like the more the pure detectives and police kind of type of series, which is kind of a old-fashioned maybe, but maybe the color of my beard kind of gives a hint to that. So yeah, if I have to name one, which is really my favorite, is kind of the new, well, not the latest. Yeah.
You painted.
Yeah, nice try, and
I
yeah,
thought
good one, Suzanne.
you add gray to your beard. So
Oh yes,
that's real, or
it is real. Yes.
So on to the next.
So on to the next one. You want another dilemma?
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is free lunch or a pension scheme. Have a go at it, Suzanne. Let's see, it's a difficult one. Free lunch or a pension scheme? Yeah, I have to agree with you. The free lunch is really quite attractive, and looking at the results here, the free lunch gets only 36% of the votes. So I guess people are really into there is no such thing as a free lunch theme, which is, yeah, well, maybe people are too realistic. We should aim for more free lunches. Now, I want to kind of quickly get your. So we've had
more free lunches.
Yeah. So we had Sasha. Oh, sorry, I'm interrupted by lag.
Yes, it is very laggy. So I wanted to propose that we just watch one of the interviews of the contributors who are working with us on this event, and who took the effort of joining us for an interview in the previous few weeks. So let's just watch one. Why don't we?
Yes. Roll the video.
This is awkward.
Yeah, we don't see the video. What's happening?
I hate it when technology doesn't work, right? Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. I think somebody somewhere I'm afraid if I press it 4 times that it will roll 4 times or something.
Well, maybe we can throw it onto something else, and maybe something which is quite interesting in the as we're on the topic of contributing to open source, which is quite important actually if you want to make sure that you have accessible and inclusive contributions. Is one thing that's important is your commit messages. and adhering to some standards for commit messages. So there's many different ones. So you have commit messages already some standards. Either it's from Go, or you have I think from one which I wanted to say. Sorry, the name escapes me now for a second. Well, Angular, that's the one I wanted to mention here. I keep using it, but actually the thing is, what's your take on commit messages? To be honest, if I look at my commit messages, typically they are quite unstructured, and I really have to kind of make myself adhere to these standards. And because indeed, if you do afterwards, if you do a git log, it is quite confronting if you do that on a project that you've been working on, like say a year ago. You do a git log of that one. I tend to see a lot of fixed typo, bug fixed, those kind of commit messages, which are not really telling much. And so, yeah, what's your take on this, Suzanne? Are you kind of structured in your commit messages?
I'm so guilty. I am so guilty. I tried to be structured, and I was afraid this topic might come up. But well, it starts structured, and then it goes from being structured to deadline. And I know, like, don't talk about deadlines, but late at night, just fixing.
And we're back. Suzanne, I think you're muted. We can't hear you.
Again, this never happens. Okay, honest. Who at least has one meeting a day where you join and you try to say something and you're muted. My fiancée, she has 0, so that's interesting. I don't. Yes, good. And I think that's like, you should have some AI functionality built in so that they recognize you if you want to say something but not want to be muted. Somebody should fix that, right?
Yeah. By the way,
somebody should. Yes.
Yes. Definitely.
Yes.
By the way, you were saying something about your commit messages. And
so we
deadlines.
were not discussing the commit messages, right?
We were.
Yeah, it starts quite structured, and then at the end it's like ASDFGHJKL, or Well, yes. So my favorite one is one I did just before this event started, and it was YOLO. Yes. So that's also a good one. I think it's. But if you look back, and this is where, of course, the earlier talks, GitLog, yes, you can't work with that anymore. So if you look at those messages, it is somewhat funny because you see that you suddenly gave up on structure, but then that's where the magic happens. That's where you solve that one issue and you just put bug fix or YOLO and it works, and then you walk away. And then after, there's obviously a ton of commits happening. But yeah, it's important to keep that structured.
Yeah, I agree. And what
I
usually...
hope nobody watches this who thinks, oh.
Yeah, what usually happens to me is that you start indeed structured to some extent, and then you go into like bug fixing mode, and stuff starts to go wrong. You want to quickly try something out. You commit it, deploy it using your CI/CD, and then it breaks again because you messed up. You've been rushing through things, and then you go into this loop of typos and fixes and stupid fixes and even more stupid fixes, and so it becomes very difficult then to come up with a very telling commit message each time you kind of make the situation worse. And sometimes I think you should take a step back and think before you commit. And that's where stuff like pair programming comes in handy, because it kind of helps you get that second pair of eyes that look at probably the obvious things that you should have seen before you press that commit and push button, or just typed it. So yeah, that's how I get from structured to unstructured usually, and then I need to swing back to structure again by calming down. By the way, there was an earlier question about
about that pair programming. Everybody suddenly.
No, go ahead, Suzanne.
No, just go.
No, I wanted to discuss something else, but yeah, I'm definitely interested in what you had to say.
So about the programming. Yeah, so we're all working remotely nowadays, and I just love the way that technology helps to even do that when you are not together physical in an office anymore. And now I know there's tons of people very experienced in this remote thing, but now suddenly, it's kind of easy because I run into stuff, and normally I would ask a colleague like, "Hey, do you have some time? Can you look at this? Can you verify if I'm doing it right?" And actually, with features like stuff like live share or something, you can just share. You can just share your code and collaborate on it, and it's even more easy than walking towards a colleague. So I'm really amazed about the times we live in regards to that.
Yeah, definitely. There's some nice features that really gonna help you get that live view, because yes, you have code reviews and like pushing a pull request and asking for a code review, but it's not that immediate response of having somebody sitting next to you looking at the same screen and immediately giving you that feedback. Now this should be different, and there indeed the live share feature, I really love it. Not trying to sell it here, but really it comes in very handy. And on that specific topic of tooling, and that's the thing I wanted to talk to you about as well, is We had the question earlier around Git and the use of visual tools versus the command line. What is your approach? Command line or GUI?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mix and match nowadays. So, which is kind of awkward because normally I would say CLI all the way. But over the years, my choice of products changed. You know, I am even using a Windows operating system, which is to me, I struggle with it a lot because I'm not like with a lot of stuff, not that aware of the features but I changed my software a little bit, and by using other products, you know, it's just I always have my terminal open, but I notice I more and more go to the left upper side of my screen and just look at, hey, what have I done? And it's a bit of a mix and match workflow now. Obviously, sometimes there's dragons along the road. You know, you start working on a project, you have some issues, merging issues or something, and then you have to resort to the CLI. So CLI is king, but for productivity, I say I use CLI much. Yes. The GUI much. Yes. Yeah. And how's that for you?
It tends to be a mix as well for me, whereas I tend to have a habit of doing certain commands are like always command line, are always CLI, versus other ones which I tend to do indeed via the command, via the GUI. However, one other thing there is it also depends for me on which developer tool I'm using. So if I'm using VS Code, for example, where I have the console or the CLI close to me, and using the keyboard shortcuts actually to get it quickly, I tend to switch more to the CLI than using the GUI. Whereas if I'm doing stuff in .NET, for example, using the full Visual Studio, there it seems that the CLI is like too far away from what I'm doing in the moment. And so there I tend to kind of go through the steps of clicking the different buttons in the GUI to get my stuff done. So that's typically how the different angles I have on that one. So certain commands are like always CLI, and then other ones are kind of driven or determined by the tool I use I'm in, whether I use one or the other. Does that make sense, actually? Or am I just weird?
Yeah, it does. No, it's weird. I think that makes sense. And it's all a matter of, the good thing is that it's funny, the lag. I hear you like laughing way after I'm finished. But it's good to be able to choose what fits your workflow best. Currently, people who try to join when the live stream started noticed I sometimes have hardware issues. Yes, I only use Codespaces now at this moment. So I normally would have used VS Code. Now I'm using Codespaces. I was like, hey, let's go check that out. It's on GitHub. That's the place where I want to be. That's where my stuff is. I want to work on. So why not? And it's kind of cool because when my system, I couldn't do a thing, but I could update the website, and that's like, a profit for me to be able to work on any device and have a beefy system to work on. Wherever you are.
Yeah, I think that's another interesting point there, and I just wanted to check
Yeah,
up
nice question.
on the chat. Actually, I see here Maartje Eiskens, who is also part of our mentor team or our maintainer team. I interviewed Maartje on the Cert Manager open source project, who in the use of GUI and CLI says, I like committing using the GUI. Like the boring tasks are done using the GUI and the rest is CLI. And then you have Julien Airball in Discord, who's actually doing the opposite. So it is kind of funny how habits are so different among people, and it's kind of cool if you. I used to be in consulting, where you kind of switch between different customers, different development teams, to see again those local flavors, both in terms of one developer versus another, but then also these standards or ways of operating across customers that are sometimes completely opposite or completely different from one context to another. And so again, hence there, and it was in the second workshop on inclusive and accessible documentation. It really is important that you have very good documentation, tutorials, beginner's guides with your open source project. This can help people get past that kind of what is the culture or the local flavor or mode of operating for a given open source project. What are kind of the things I should abide to kind of fit in, to be welcomed? And some of that could be just driven by the way people are using tools for that specific project. And that again kind of is where, and you mentioned it, the GitHub code spaces are really handy because it kind of lowers the bar for getting started with a project. But kind of beyond that one, I wanted to get your opinion as well on kind of browser-based tooling versus having a beefy machine with all the bells and whistles and the actual CLI and IDEs on your machine. What's your point on that one?
Yeah, well, I had a policy for quite a long time, and that was I use the browser or I use the terminal, and I'm not going to use one other thing. So, and now that we have, there's more options now to also use the browser, for instance, for VS Code. But all other tooling, like there's so much stuff being web-based. I tend to prefer the CLI still for a lot of things. Yeah, it's basically the same, terminal or browser. And yeah, I don't know. I don't like applications which start with your computer and do pop-ups and update this, update that. Yes, but no, please stop it. Make it web-based or make a decent CLI. Of course, there's all kinds of like Office applications. You can do that in your browser pretty good as well. Actually, sometimes you even have more features. Yeah, I just try it. You know, you don't need that much applications. Old-fashioned. This is old-fashioned. Don't you think?
Yeah, it's. I totally agree. Sometimes it's such a hassle to get started with either could be with a programming language or with a certain open source project, whatever. that you're depending on so many things to be available on your machine, that it becomes a real hassle. And earlier this week we had create serverless going on, this virtual conference. And actually in the first session there was Chris from CodePen. That's completely side topic, but what was kind of an eye-opener a couple of years ago for me was actually CodePen, is being able to be developing in your browser when you are doing some HTML, CSS, JavaScript stuff. It was eye-opening and so easy to get some things done in your browser. That kind of flipped the switch a bit for me in looking beyond these IDEs that do everything for you. But yeah, where you were like, if you had a new machine or there was an update, you were already expecting a 3-hour install, and you were okay with it at the time. But then if you see these other ways of working, yeah, that really makes such a difference in your like developer productivity. Yeah, I would not, well, I can't say how long it's been since I've used the IDE, like a full-fledged IDE. It's been a while. Oh, by the way, another question.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Another question I have in that respect was around, as you were mentioning, Windows, and the topic came up in the beginning, Windows and Linux. Are you an avid user of WSL, so Windows Subsystem for Linux?
All the yeses. It like, these are interesting times to be in technology. You know, for the people who were at the beginning, Sasha had a presentation where she, well, kind of looks back on the period in time where we had Steve Ballmer, you know, not being that positive at all about, for instance, Linux. And then now this time where we actually ship Windows and Linux, like it's integrated. It's not just a lightweight VM anymore. It's there, and I can browse the files, and I can just do my stuff. And I'm an avid WSL user. Yes. Although now that I kind of start working more and more in my browser, yeah, it's a little bit less. But I try everything out.
Yeah, for me, it comes back down to the question.
Okay, we have some people being biased in the chat, by the way.
Oh my God! Yes.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah?
Maartje says I don't always have the web with me.
Oh yeah,
that's true.
That's definitely true.
Like, that can be a challenge.
Yeah, we take it so for granted to have always on, to always be connected, but that's not always the case indeed. And it is sometimes you want to have that offline local development experience. Definitely agree. Yeah. But yeah, as I think, especially now and we're kind of privileged to pretty much have internet access and web access all the time. But yeah, there are occasions where you don't have it, and there, yeah. What is important there is the fact of how easy is it to transition from a web-based development, not doing web development, but web-based developer environment versus your local environment. How different are the two, and how easy is it to switch from one to another? I think that is key. Then there, for me, is not to almost to be unaware, or where connectivity becomes kind of just a parameter or a switch, where you say, okay, now I'm offline, now I'm online. Not sure if that's easy to accomplish, but at least the paradigms or the modes of development should pretty much be the same.
Yeah, and now you can also sync settings and stuff, and so it's yeah, you know your code is on the internet anyways, so it's a matter of hey, I'm going on holiday. Okay, this I hope my fiance is not listening, but you go on holiday and then you think, hey, I might squeeze like a day of coding in there, and then yes, you probably want to walk towards the closest place where you have reach with your cellular or hotspot. Just grab your code and go back very quietly and enjoy your work or hobby, or both. So there's ways to work around it. I think it also depends how much you are dependent on tooling which you run locally, and so. But it's good to try it out and push it and to see, okay, what do I really need? You know, I don't use plugins, just a few. Like, yeah, why would I?
Yeah, well, sometimes they're handy.
But that's an opinion. It can be different,
yes.
Of course, for everybody.
Yeah. And we're not here to be opinionated, or are we?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. By the way, another question I have for you is a discussion I had with another colleague, I think a week ago, is you know, a certain number of languages, programming languages. What is kind of the next thing that you want to learn? What is kind of top of your list in terms of, this is something I want to learn in the coming month, 6 months?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. So there's two things I always like to explore, and you know, I come from consulting, and I have a background in like consulting for mostly development, and I like to try out new stuff. So learning new things. At least on my list is Uno. So this is something I am curious about. Like I've seen some presentations now earlier today when I was at the Dutch Umbraco user group. There was also talk about Uno again. Yeah, I want to try that out. And the other thing is, that's more about well, the infrastructure, because everything comes, you know, with all the microservices and the platform which you run it on, it comes so close together. So for me, it's getting well, it's a very fast-moving world. So catching up, I would say, and this is something I really take the time for. So I build an app and get an existing app and try both out with the new technology, you know, test drive it a little bit, break it a lot, stress test it. So I am especially in the Kubernetes space is something. Yeah, there's so much things going on at this moment. Yeah, that's my priority, I think, at this moment.
Yeah,
you can spend a lot of time on that.
Yes, and that's.
And what's your project for the next few months?
Yeah, on my list is if I look at specifically at like programming languages, I'd say I have a big gap in knowledge in Go. So I see a lot of kind of tools, utilities, depending on Go as a language. So this is definitely something where I need to go and have a look at. And the next one on the list would be then Rust, which I hear a lot of goodness about. But yeah, it's like a black box to me, Rust. So those are kind of the two, if I look at just programming languages, which are the things I want to explore a bit. And I agree on like the whole platform and the infrastructure and applications coming together, and there being a lot of commonalities in between the two, is the whole infrastructure as code kind of theme I find very interesting. Is how can we take some of the practices of software development and versioning and releasing of software, take that also to infrastructure. Because for me, I'm more on the developer side, not on the infrastructure side. I'm always amazed with how different the two worlds are or have been. But now with all of these infrastructure technologies, whether it's Pulumi or Terraform, or if you look at cloud providers, ARM or CloudFormation, those are really bringing those developer concepts to infrastructure, and that I find very, very, very interesting. So, yeah. So.
Yeah, that's a good one, I think, and I think you're going to do one more thing.
Well, actually, what I wanted to mention still, and which I think
are we done already?
Well, we can go on, but we just also need to take the time to present our project and maintainers, because they are the stars of the show, of course, and so yeah, not sure where we are in terms of that. All the projects, if so that might be something that we could throw in the chat as well, is do we have any what are people going to work on in the hours that we have for hacking today, but also over the month of October and beyond? Maybe you could share in the chat what you're going to work on. Anything that has your preference, Suzanne? If you may cast a vote.
Oh, I don't. Nah, there's a few things. Yeah, there's quite some good projects in there, and when I watched the videos with the interviews, there were a few that really sparked my interest. But both on, hey, this sounds interesting what they're doing with the project, and then again, also listening to, hey, what is actually needed? What help do you need? And yeah, that's very interesting to see that a lot of projects. Well, yes, there's a lot of projects asking like, hey, we can use people with a certain programming language background, or join us to help us fix things. We tag them, but also a lot of projects actually asking, hey, please help us with our documentation, and please help us with a website or some graphics or that sort of things. Now, I personally am done with graphics for the next month, but yeah, there's so many different things you can do. And also, it's good to look at the community, and this is also one of the tips, of course, shared earlier in sessions. Look for a community which, looks welcoming, where there is this welcoming environment. And there's like, hello, hi. Hi.
There,
Wave.
Ja.
Kom maar zo.
yes.
Well, I
It's
think I got executive orders. So let me. I can't even.
Bring this.
Nee, niet auw. Kom.
We can see that
it sounds
the
really
future,
terrible, but it is not.
the future is secured. So the next generation of contributors is there.
Most likely, because he's really interested in everything and figuring things out. Why are they this way? And really good at finding and discovering why things work in a certain way, and totally addicted to anything with screens. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, that would be amazing. So as I wanted to give
of
a
course,
shout
I
here.
advise not to do. Don't.
By the way, you on the topic of graphics, Suzanne, and you mentioning that you've had enough of graphic stuff for the coming weeks. Big shout out and kudos so much to you for all this amazing graphical work that you did on this conference, because this is all thanks to you that we have this very nice looking graphics. The videos, they're all courtesy of your dedication and passion in this. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, I try my best. So, yeah, talking about videos, we can try to show one. I have we have practiced this and tested this for quite some time, and today suddenly there's some crazy issue that we can't play the videos in the way we would have wanted. But of course, we can try to share those. So let me tell something fun. Tell people maybe about the last letter.
Oh yes, we have a last letter, which we still
because we had 4 letters, right?
Yes, we had 4, and we disclosed only 3 so far. So we had let's throw them in the group again. So we had our S. So we had the U. Then you announced the D previously, and I think any guesses for the 4th one? Maybe in the chat. I don't see an immediate guess there, but actually giving away the last one, and our last letter is going to be O, which kind of brings us back on the topic of maybe Linux. Could it be? And so with those 4 letters, you should have.
There was something, I don't know, it was like something with a sandwich. Or babies. But then it might be a brand name, which we, of course, wouldn't refer to.
No, we would not.
Who knows?
So by now, you should have the 4 letters. for our magical keywords. And so after, so we're going to go into...
Yeah. So the O.
Yes. And so that brings us to, maybe we can disclose already what type of swag package we have available for the attendees. Suzanne, do we have that one already?
Well, I think it was a pillow.
It is.
Right?
Yes,
but
it was.
But not any kind of pillow?
No, not just any
mistaken.
ordinary pillow. No, not at all. Because, hey, what are we trying to do here today? We're contributing.md. So we're trying to help the community and the maintainers with giving them valuable contributions, meaningful contributions. And we're asking people kind of to spend the whole evening with us here on contributing.today. So why not help and contribute to some good sleep for the attendees afterwards with a nice contributions pillow. So Suzanne, not sure. Do you have the actual image there of what we are handing out? I see Suzanne is being interrupted by the...
I don't really have that here at the moment, I think.
Oh, what I'll do then
is... I think it lost during the big major crash.
Yes, indeed. And so, yeah, we can, what I'll do is I'll share...
pull that image up.
Yeah, and we can share it in the Discord. Yeah. So in the meantime,
what we can do?
Yes, because I understood that the videos are not going to roll right now. They're not rolling with us.
In the meantime, we can. Well, let's do a little try. Let's maybe work. Who knows?
Yes. Wow. Amazing video.
Yes, so we're back.
Suzanne, maybe you can, I understood there's some, a little bit lag. Could we share a link to the video?
Yes, I can share a link to the video. I will make sure that you'll get it.
Great, thanks.
In the chat, of course.
In the chat, indeed, on Discord, which you can find the link to on our main page, which is contributing.today. Thanks for that one, Suzanne. And okay, with that,
Yes.
I think what we can do, in addition, sorry, I got mixed up with something here. Apologies for that. So we have, I just had a small technical issue. So handing it over to you, Suzanne.
Oh, Nick.
Yes, Suzanne.
Nick, hello. Are you still there?
Can you hear me?
Okay. So, did you notice, by the way, in that video, there was there was a new thing.
Yeah, was there a new thing
there
in
was
there?
A new badger, which is the
Oh.
community recognition program.
Yes, indeed. We have this little thing called Azure Heroes.
This is the open sorcerer. Yeah, and you can earn that one. Well, by nominating yourself. It's not a t-shirt. And you have to do a meaningful contribution. And you will get recognition. It's a collectibles based on blockchain, which you can earn by attending events, or in this case, contributing and organizing your own events, or speaking, or being an inclusive leader for the community, which is an awesome program. And you can nominate yourself, or you can nominate others.
Yes, that's, I think the nice thing there is, indeed, it's not just you nominating yourself, but also where you can actually point out to us who are kind of the valuable people, who are the actual heroes in your community that merit a specific badger. And so we have them, as you mentioned, all kinds of them. So we have the learner badger, which basically gives you, kind of recognizes the fact that you like to learn new stuff. And we had the discussion about what would be your next thing that you want to learn. But it is important that we are learning. So we want to kind of give you some recognition for that. Or maybe you like building new things. You want to create projects, or you want to share content with others in the community. Maybe, and that's basically what the community is about. If people start sharing their knowledge, and sometimes people just starting in our industry, in IT, kind of are reluctant to share things that they learned. Because, well, they look up to these other people and say, like, well, they are way more experienced than I am. What do I have to share? But there is always somebody who can learn from your experiences. Maybe you're not the expert in a specific technical domain, but people are always interested in how did you learn something? And as we're all learning, the experience of learning itself is quite valuable. Because sometimes you get kind of, oh wait, is that how you learn things? Maybe I can use that as well. And so don't hesitate to share something. There's always somebody interested in learning from your experiences. And so that's also why we find this important. And so we have content badgers. But as you say, it's a new family member in the Azure Heroes badger program is the open sourcer. which indeed recognizes people that are really active in open source projects and make those meaningful contributions. So yeah, just head over to our aka.ms/azure.heroes site and either nominate yourself or nominate somebody else that you see merits one of these badges. Definitely go and check it out. They're fun, and they're way they're so amazing so cute to look at. I think with that, I think we for this event, I think as we're all learning, I think we have a batch a batch of badgers available to you all, learner badgers as you're learning. And then, as Suzanne said, yes, you can nominate yourself throughout basically the whole month of October as you create those meaningful contributions to open source projects. Nominate yourself as being an open sourcer, and maybe you can be amongst the first to get that new badger in your blockchain wallet, so to speak. So really cool program. And there to
everybody loves
recognize the community. On the topic of blockchain, how are you doing on your blockchain knowledge? You didn't really mention that one as your next learning experience.
No. I thought we agreed upon a list with forbidden words.
Oops.
But yes. So let's watch maybe the... Wait. Oh, I hear we... but it is fun. And, you know, for this use, it's good to have something which is obviously verifiable and scarce. So, for instance, there's quite some limited edition badges, pretty much like the open sorcerer one, but also, well, you know, the inclusive leader badger. Yeah. That's also quite exclusive. So. And that's on purpose because, you know, it's really a recognition for your efforts in the community.
Yeah. And also I want to mention, because we have actually 2 new badgers this week. So we have the open sourcer that we announced just today. And another one which we announced earlier this week was the green badger. Which is really also a very interesting one, also a very scarce one, in the sense that the green badger is one where we recognize developers that are into the whole green development and sustainable software engineering side of the business. So how can we, through what we do in software development and engineering, help to create a more sustainable environment for all of us, kind of improve the world for all of us, rather than just writing code. We can be knowledgeable, and we can also be kind of we have a task there to make sure that we can continue to all kind of live in a better world and a more sustainable world. And so that's why we have this green badger, which we announced at the GreenConf earlier this week. So take a look at that one as well. So there's the green badger and the open source badger.
Today. There's only 75. There's only 75 of those.
Yeah.
So that's a really exclusive one as well. So I suggest we go take a look at the interviews which we had with some of the contributors.
Yes.
I hope that you are able to watch these, and you stick around. We'll be back in half an hour for more of this.
Yes, this and more.
Hi, my name is Julien Dubois, and I'm the creator and maintainer of the Jeepster open source project. So Jeepster is a development platform mostly aimed at Java developers who want to create a full stack application. So we're creating the backend with Spring Boot, Micro, Quarkus. We create the front end with Angular, React, Vue.js, and we create the infrastructure around it to build and deploy your application. Oh, we're looking for a lot of contributors. So today we have more than 600 contributors in the main project. We have forks and what we call blueprints in other languages. We don't all need Java. We've got also .NET and Node.js. So we look for a lot of different competencies for all those different projects. I mean, technical competencies. And then we also need competencies like design, communication, that kind of thing, because what we lack today is, for example, great logos. Well, we've got a few of them, but we would like more logos. We would like better documentation, better videos, better tutorials. So we don't only look for technical expertise. We're looking for a wide array of skills. And I mean, everybody really is welcome to the project. We've got a long story of welcoming new people, new developers, people who are learning code, and we are always very happy to have new people joining the project. That's how the project grew initially, and that's what we continue today, even if it becomes so big that it might be a little bit stressful for new people. But really, everybody is welcome, and we'll be happy to have new people joining us. Oh, so the most important skill to join is to be nice and curious. We have many people who join the project as trainees or people who were not developers, and they grew with the project, and now, well, maybe many of them now are developers in big companies or are freelancers, and the project came from that. So we are always very happy to have new people, but who are curious and who are nice, who are happy to work together, and that's the most important thing that we are looking for. We're not looking for somebody who is, who is extremely good at something. That's something you can learn. What is more important to us is somebody who is nice and who can communicate well and who can work with us as a community. Jeepster is more a community than a technical project in the end, and it's working because it's a community. So really, any kind of skill is welcome, as long as you are curious and as long as you are a good team player and I would say a nice person who would like to join your community and to have fun with us, of course. To get started, so we've got a lot of tutorials. Again, we've got lots of people who joined us, and so some people did some video tutorials, some people did some guides, some people, hands-on guides, workshops. Some people did written documentation, I would say more classical documentation. Then really the best way to get started is just to kickstart the project. So we've got this website called start.jeepster.tech. Your project. When you will run that project, you will probably not understand a lot of it at the first time, but that's okay. That's fine. That's how people get started, and then you learn by having a look at what's generated, and at some point, well, you will get so used to the project that you will want to contribute back, because you will see that something that was generated does not feel right to you, or is not documented correctly, and that at that moment, maybe, well, you will find the need to come and talk with us, to tell us, oh, I would have done this other way, or I would have written this differently. And that's at this moment that you will join us. So yes, the best way to get started is to code and be curious, because yeah, really, you will probably not understand most of it at the first time, and that's okay. It's a tool to learn, and that's totally normal.
Hey, I'm Derek, and I'm a contributor to Git project and other projects related to Git. Git is the distributed version control software that's taken over the world. Almost every developer uses Git in order to track their source code and history and to share it on places like GitHub. Git welcomes contributors from all over the world, and we specifically look for people who have some sort of itch they want to scratch, something that they've noticed in Git that they've been using that they would like to improve for their own workflow is where most contributors come in. We have a few items that are kind of cleanup and refactorings that require a little bit of care, and we have a few features like improving the Git sparse checkout built-in or the Git maintenance built-in that are relatively new features that have some more polish that could be added. One of my favorite features is the Git sparse checkout, which allows you to take your working directory and scope it down into a small set. Usually you start from small and you grow it, and the command is built that way too. So you can do things like set to this scope or to grow it by adding directories. But it'd be interesting to be able to remove directories one by one. I also work on a maintenance built-in, which is a way of keeping your Git data clean and running fast. And that has a few more things that are taking over for the git gc command. Those git gc tasks could be pulled into the maintenance built-in. The number one skill for working in Git is to be very and persistent. You're going to have to learn a lot on your way and be able to, in terms of learning what people have done before and taking that as an example. Of course, it does help to have some C programming and shell scripting experience. To get started, you can subscribe to the Git mailing list where all of our communication happens, where all of our patches are submitted and reviewed. But also you can take a look at the Git for Windows contributing guide, and also the Git gadget. Patches, and it includes an issue tracker.
Hey, I'm Johan, and I'm a senior developer advocate working at Microsoft. I've been the creator and lead maintainer for the last 3 years of an Angular project generator that's called NJX Rocket. So NJX Rocket is an Angular project generator that you can use to create all kinds of projects, including mobile, PWA, or Electron applications. It comes with a lot of built-in integration to quickly get started. Like, for example, it has a responsive UI template based on either Material, Ionic, or Bootstrap. It has localization, developer tooling, and even deployment option, all from one CLI. One of the cool things of the project, in my opinion, is that if you want to customize it, for example, to integrate your own company design system or your authentication system directly in the template of the project, there's an add-on system that you can use for that, so you don't have to completely fork the project and maintain your own version. So in this project, we really welcome all kinds of contribution, whether it's code, documentation, feedbacks, ideas, bug reports, tutorials, really, you name it. When speaking about contribution, most people will think about code and new feature first, but really adding new features, really adding or fixing new documentation, updating the website, improving the CI or the build system is in the end what's really the most helpful contribution, because that's always what is lacking in OSS project, because first we concentrate on new feature and bug fixing, and we forgot a bit about the rest. So that's really what's helpful. The first skill I think you really need to contribute is first to know how to use GitHub, and to know also a bit about Git if you want to propose pull requests. Then if you want to go a bit deeper, if you want to work on the generator code and propose maybe new features, in that case, you'll need to know a bit about web development, JavaScript, and especially Angular, of course. To get started, my advice would be first to take a look at the open issues in the main page of the project. You can search for the good first contribution label for the issues to see if there's something maybe you would like to work for. If you have your very own idea, that's okay. Then my tip would be to create an issue for it, so other people know what you're working on. And in that case, also you can use the issue to ask feedbacks or comments and see how it will best fit the project. Also on Git, we have a contribution guide in the page of the project. That's a good place to start if you want to write some code and don't know where to begin at or what's the process to submitting a pull request. Lastly, don't be afraid to ask questions, because at the end, if something's unclear, that means that's also something that can be improved on the project. So that's always a good thing. You know, most of the docs that have been written was already based on questions we received on the project. So we are very welcoming to new questions.
Hi, my name is Johannes Schindelin, and I'm the maintainer of Git for Windows, the Windows-specific port of the Git project, which is the source code management system that many of you already know, I guess. It's basically a medium to communicate between developers, because it's a little bit like a cell phone, but for developers, because you cannot transmit source code via cell phone, so you transmit it via Git. I think there's a lot of contributions that we could welcome. That's whether you write documentation or whether you improve documentation, if you see that something is not quite right or something could be phrased better, definitely jump in and contribute some improvement. That's totally cool. If you see a typo in some error message or other message, that's also quite easy to fix. Or if you want to implement a new feature in Git, or Git for Windows, the options are wide open. Just go crazy. Go for what you want to do. That, of course, depends on what you want to do. If you just want to write a good piece of documentation or a tutorial, then a good command of the English language would be quite nice. Or if you want to just contribute a different language documentation, then you have to be fluent in that language. Otherwise, if you want to implement something in Git, I think C is something that you should probably know at least a little bit, but it's not really hard. It's the hard parts might be that you have to be very careful how you manage memory, but I'm here to help. So if you're familiar with JavaScript, for example, you probably can read the code and guess how that should look in C, and I can help with the rest. The easiest would probably be to look at the documentation, My First Contribution. This explains a little bit the workflows of the Git project. And I Git project because Git for Windows is very close to Git, so I would rather target Git directly. Otherwise, if you want to target Git for Windows, just look at the repository that you can find very quickly from our homepage. And you can open a pull request. You can communicate via tickets or via the mailing list if you want to start a new project and don't know quite where to start. I think that My First Contribution is probably the best documentation in the first run, and then just talk to people.
Hi, I'm Wasim. I'm the creator and maintainer of XLayers. So XLayers is a tool that lets you preview and convert your SketchUp design into any JavaScript framework code or library. So yeah, with XLayers, we're trying to bridge the gap between designers and developers and allowing them to collaborate and iterate over a design. So for instance, designers would use their typical favorite design tool like SketchUp to create their design, and then convert that design into actual code for any JavaScript framework. And then developers would use that generated code to build on top of it and add their business logic. So we're actually looking for any kind of contributions. So if you are a designer and want to use the tool, please feel free to do so and let us know what you think about that. And also if you have any suggestion about the UI and the UX as well. If you're a developer, we would also love your contributions about the code base, improving the code base, adding unit tests, and all those stuff. So since XLayers is meant to be used for both designers and developers, we are actually we need actually about design and code skills. So again, if you're a designer and have some design skills, we would love to have your help on improving XLayers on the user experience side, and also on the technical side. XLayers is written in Angular. Actually, this is mainly TypeScript. So yeah, if you are a JavaScript developer with some expertise in Angular, We would love to help you, to have your help on that. If you don't know Angular, that's fine. We would love to help you on that. And basically, yeah, JavaScript is the main language. The CI configuration, the code, like the build process is written in JavaScript. So we would love to have your contributions on that. The unit tests are written in Jest, and the end-to-end tests are written in Cypress. So if you know these tools, that would be really great. Otherwise, actually, there is no obligation. Feel free to come as you are. In order to get started, you could go over xlayers.dev, which is the main website for the tool, or you could go directly to the GitHub project. And there is actually there are a bunch of issues labeled with good for first issue and community help. So feel free to pick any one of those if you want to start contributing. Otherwise, you could just simply use the tool, use xlayers, and let us what you think about the tool. You find it useful? Are there any missing features that you want to see there? Even better, you could help us actually add those features. Or you could also like create new issues with some ideas, or if you find any bugs that you want to help us with, please feel free to create a new issue for that. And thank you in advance.